I've never been so compelled to share my thoughts on a fiction before until now. And that is because I recently finished the book, The Vegetarian, by a Nobel Prize winning author in literature. She actually was awarded this in 2024, and she is the Korean author Han Kang. And her writing is so visceral. It's like hauntingly evocative. And that's the type of writing that gets me completely immersed in the emotional lives of her character. And if I'm being honest, it's been a long time since I've really sunk into and just got completely immersed in a good literary fiction. And the last one was actually Pachinko, which was a gripping, multi-generational saga that just had this beautiful character development. Like, I won't say much, but I think the book is much better than the series. And so back to The Vegetarian, I devoured this in less than a week, which is something I rarely do with fiction. But her writing is just, I don't even have all the right words, but they live beyond the book because they are so visceral and so evocative. You just feel them. And I will say up front, this book may not be for everyone. There are some unsettling, disturbing scenes and moments, especially chapter 2. There's only 3 chapters. And that's why it might not sit well with people. But to me, that's life. Our human lives are not like a romance novel. It's not a Disney movie. No matter how much we want it to be with this happy ending, it's messy, it's layered, it's uncomfortable, but that's life. And that's exactly, I think, I love about Han Kang's writing, is because she captures all of the real, raw human emotions and psychological themes so unflinchingly. And it's what makes it deeply human. She explores these raw emotional textures of our psychological landscapes and our internal selves, like shame, repression, longing. Those are just some of the themes in this book. And a glimpse of empathy that we see later in the last chapter. It's not loud, it's not perfect, but it's the only time that someone tries to understand the protagonist, Young-hae's, world or perspective. And so one of the things that really stood out to me and how this novel is structured, because there's only 3 chapters, is how it's told through 3 different perspectives of these 3 different people in the protagonist Young-hae's life. And we never hear from Young-hae's point of view at all throughout the book. The first is from her husband's point of view, and it is marked with this frustration and annoyance, as if Young-hae's decision to quit eating meat all of a sudden because of her disturbing dreams have now inconvenienced his life. And he doesn't see his wife as a person at all, but someone just disrupting the predictability of his very average life. And then in chapter 2, shifts to the perspective of the brother-in-law of Young-hae. And this section is where it is quite disturbing, and will be for people. The perspective is through his gaze, which is very voyeuristic. It's objectifying Young-hae, where he sees her kind of just like a canvas for his own fantasies. And there is this line in the book that is very, very chilling. I want to swallow you, have you melt into me and flow through my veins. It's intense. It's haunting. It's upsetting, but whoa, her words speak. They have this power to evoke such emotions. And here she's not talking about romance. It sounds like some obsession, that the brother-in-law has of the protagonist, Young Hae. And it isn't now until the last chapter, through the perspective of In Hae, the sister of the protagonist, where we see a real attempt at empathy in trying to understand the world, the inner world of Young Hae. It's quiet and it's imperfect, but I think that's what real empathy is, when someone is trying to empathize with someone they care about without projecting onto them, right? And I think the structural choice of these 3 chapters, the way Han Kang laid it out, was intentional from my perspective. It's as if she was showing us just how rare real empathy is and how long it may take before someone stops reacting and starts simply trying to understand the inner world of someone they care about. So there is this moment towards the end of the book in chapter 3 of her sister, In Hae's point of view, where it hasn't left me, where Young Hae is in the psychiatric hospital. We can vividly see how the doctors are trying to force feed her through a tube and eventually have to sedate her. And of course, this scene is disturbing but very uncomfortable and painful for her sister to watch it all unfold. So she finally steps in, and because she just can't bear to see her sister cry out in pain anymore. And there's a moment after that, after the chaos, where the two of them are together, and Young Hae opens her eyes and just blanketly stares into her sister's eyes. And In Hae, in that quiet moment, as her black pupils fix on her, she says, "What is staring behind those eyes? What is she harboring inside her? Beyond the reach of her sister's imagination, what terror, what anger, what agony, what hell?" And then, a few moments later, she continues and says, "I have dreams too, you know, dreams that I could let myself dissolve into them, let them take over me. But surely the dream isn't all there is." See, here I think In Hae is trying to, in a quiet, not dramatic way, trying to deeply understand and empathize why her sister may be going through this. And even just to say, "I have dreams too, you know," even if she will never understand her. And she's trying to empathize while still having that hope to save her. And I think it's just, and it wasn't about trying to fix her. It was simply just staying close to her in that moment, being present with her, and showing her that she deeply cares to try to understand and empathize her. And I think it deeply hit me because this theme of empathy has been something I've been really reflecting on in my own life. Like, what does true empathy actually look like? What does it feel like? How do you know when someone is trying to really understand, make an attempt to understand your inner world versus just showing simply they care? And I know it's not that I'm struggling to recognize it. I think it's actually more because I've experienced this. There was someone in my life who showed me this type of real deep empathy that was attuned empathy that I've never felt and experienced before. And it's probably because of setting that standard, it became really clear how rare it actually really is to experience it and to feel it in a relationship, even if we label them to be close. So when I read The Vegetarian, I kept thinking, yes, Han Kang, like this is it. This is what I've been trying to put words to with what I have even trying to feel and define real empathy, what real empathy is. It's not to understand, but I think it's trying, being really genuinely curious about the inner world of someone we deeply care about and creating that safe space between you. And there's another scene towards the end where In-hye lies fully clothed in the bathtub, remembering how her once ex-husband came home and she found him fully clothed, asleep in the bathtub the same way. And despite everything that he has done to her, we see her imagining just for a second what that space might have meant to him. Not as a place to hide, but maybe the only place and space where he could be still or feel still. And I don't think Kang explains it as an excuse, like in his excusing his actions towards her and the family, but she still lets us see the pain behind it. And I think that's a kind of nuanced empathy that lingers. You know, In-hye was really trying to understand what that space was to her ex-husband. And so Han Kang's writing doesn't just tell a story. You're not reading her books for the plot. Her words, her visceral writing stays with you beyond the pages. They're evocative and says so much in such few words that just hit you deeply. And so to the point where I finished this, almost 2 weeks ago now, or over 2 weeks, and the themes, the words, the descriptive writing is still with me, and it's making me reflect on emotional depth, on empathy, on the quiet complexity of just being a human and the feelings that we all experience on a raw human level. And so I think if you are drawn to stories that reflect back the rawness of being human, that kind of mirrors back some of the psychological experiences that we question and that we all, mull over as we try to better understand ourselves, her writing will do that for you. I mean, I'm so obsessed, I guess, of her writing because of just the imprint they have had on me that I've already started another book of hers, Greek Lessons. So if you actually want to hear about that too, feel free to comment below. And if you've read The Vegetarian or actually any of her books, I would really love to hear what resonated with you most. What were the scenes in The Vegetarian or themes in the book that really stuck with you? I'll be really curious to hear. Please share them below. And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, I think you might actually enjoy this video here where I actually shared my thoughts on one of the most thought-provoking nonfiction books that I read, I think last year, and it completely changed my perspective on emotions. So thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.